Hey, modern fans and constructive critics, how are you and your beloved in 2021 after dark year 2020? Over yet, it is social activist come good-hearted preacher Professor Suresh back with sheer ecstasy for my 126th video on annual of publication YouTube today 25th January 2021, Monday. The topic for today is why this Hindi fanaticism in India. Fanaticism from the Latin adverb franticus, enthusiastic, ecstatic, raging, fanatical, furious is a belief or behavior involving uncritical zeal or an obsessive enthusiasm. Philosopher George Santayana defines fanaticism as redoubling your effort when you have forgotten your aim. The fanatic displays very strict standards and little tolerance for contrary ideas or opinions. Turner Letzer has defined the term fanaticism as a pursuit or defense of something in an extreme and passionate way that goes beyond normality. Religious fanaticism is defined by blind faith, the persecution of dissent, and the absence of reality. In his book, Crazy Talk, Stupid Talk, Neil Postman states that the key to all fanatical beliefs is that they are self-affirming. Some believe are fanatical not because they are false, but because they are expressed in such a way that they can never be shown to be false. The behavior of a fan with overwhelming enthusiasm for a given subject extreme is differentiated from the behavior of a fanatic by the fanatic's violation of prevailing society norms, social norms. Though the fan's behavior may be judged as odd or eccentric, it does not violate such norms. A fanatic differs from a crank in that a crank is defined as a person who holds a position or opinion which is so far from the norm as to appear ludicrous and are probably wrong, such as a belief in a flat earth. And there was a belief those days. Galileo was the first person that said the world is round, and all staunch Christians, fanatics, religious fanatics, stoned him to death, Galileo. In contrast, the subject of the fanatic's obsession may be normal, such as an interest in religion or politics, except that the scale of the person's involvement, devotion, or obsession with the activity or cause is abnormal or disproportionate to the average. There are various types of fanaticism. Consumer fanaticism, the level of involvement or interest one has in the liking of a particular person, group, trend, artwork, or idea. Emotional fanaticism, ethnic or racial supremacist fanaticism, example Ku Klux Klan, KKK, also known as white supremacy in US. Leisure fanaticism, high levels of intensity, enthusiasm, commitment, and zeal shown for a particular leisure activity. Nationalistic or patriotic fanaticism, political ideological fanaticism, religious fanaticism, considered by some to be the most extreme form of religious fundamentalism. Extremism, really, like terrorism, no? Entire promoting religious views. Sports fanaticism, high levels of intensity surrounding sporting events. This is either done based on the belief that extreme fanaticism can alter games or one's favorite team, or because the person uses sports activities as an ultra masculine proving ground for brawls, as in the case of cricket hooliganism. Australians, English players are very well known for the sledging. Okay. Cursing the opponent team's players in any way as I please, plus the spectators also curse. It recently happened in the India-Australia series in Australia. Language fanaticism. Unnecessary importance for language, especially in India. Fanaticism is also a kind of extremism and should be weeded out since it results in unwanted rivalry, in particular religious and language. As India is one of the world's oldest cultures, it has been subjected to a plethora of language influences. Primary ones are Hindi, 41%, Bengali, 8.1, Telugu, 7.1, Marathi, 7%, Tamil, 5.9%, Urdu, 5%, Gujarati, 4.5%, Kannada, 3.7%, Malayalam, 3.2%, Oriya, 3.2%, Punjabi, 2.8%, Assami, 1.3%, Maithili, 1.2%, and other 5.9%. English is used primarily in business. English is an international language, and for economic and political purposes. Language is regional, and dialects play a role in the variety of languages spoken throughout India, with some sources suggesting that there are possibly 1,652 different languages or dialects. These come from four main linguistic families that are centered on different regions. Our politicians say India is a secular country but indulge in vote bank politics by kindling people's sensitive feelings like religion and language. No other country has so many languages and culture like India. In India, the dialect changes every 50 kilometers. Culture, food habits also change depending on the location. In so many countries, when they say Indians, instead of asking are you an Indian starting with the I, the question is are you an Indian starting with a H. It's a disgrace to all Indians when they raise such a query. Even when 541 kingdoms were there in India, prior to the British colonial era, the country was called India and not something else. India is used to be popular and respected for its rich cultural heritage. It has gone down the drain. Full credits to the politicians and effect of Western culture, if you can call it so, since it is not really culture, but sheer savagery or barbarism. 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 I would like to reiterate what Mahatma Gandhi said. India can be considered as a free democratic country only when ladies and girls are able to walk without fear, even at odd hours. Just think of reality. Even babies and octogenarians are sexually abused, tortured, and murdered in broad daylight. Is it something we need to be proud of? Is it an achievement? Crime rate has increased exponentially. Prime reasons have open access to all content on the internet, including dark web, also known as the uh, deep web. Social networking, television, movies, and substance abuse that have corrupted the mindset of normal human beings and converted them as sadists, perverts, and whatnot. Humanness is a very rare commodity since everybody likes to be in the limelight. For example, people witness an accident on the road and the victims are in so much pain. Instead of calling the authorities and ambulance for requested medical help, these brutes record the suffering on their smartphones and post it immediately on social networking sites like WhatsApp, Facebook, and Twitter. This is altruistic sadism. As per 2011 census, Hindus constitute 79.8%, Christians 2.3%, Muslims 14.2%, Sikhs 1.7%, and other an unspecified 2% of the population in India as per 2011 census. From the Hindu culture arose three major religions: Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. Hinduism has long established roots in India dating from 2000 to 1500 BCE. In Hinduism, there is no single founder, specific theological system, or central religious structure. Family values are highly, where I won't say are, were highly respected throughout India and were fundamental in daily life. The structure of the family was patriarchal. A woman must obey her father, husband, and son. Arranged marriages were commonplace. The urban middle class population of India began to move away from arranged marriages. Families often used to live with three or four generations in the same household, but now we get to see only nuclear families, disjointed. Traditionally, sons used to inherit and daughters received a dowry. Childcare was provided by the female family members. God created women for two main reasons: procreation and to take care of the family. There is a saying men build houses and women convert them as homes. India has one of the world's oldest caste system. The caste structure divides people into four main groups: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. Brahmins are teachers and intellectuals, Brahma's head. Kshatriyas, the warriors and rulers, Brahma's house. Brahma is supposed to be considered to be the creator, as per Hindu theology. Vaishyas, the traders, Brahma's thighs, and finally Sudras, the menial workers, Brahma's feet. There can be as many as 30 castes within one village. Intermarrying between castes was forbidden, but in urban areas it is now more common. Same is true about honor killings in the name of caste. One's caste is set by birth. God created everybody alike and nobody is superior or inferior. But Brahmins who come under forward caste think that they are superior. Who told them that they are superior? And why is this ego, also known as supremacy of the so-called forward caste group? That's what I mentioned. Anybody has rights to practice any job that they prefer to, as long as it is deemed legal. No holds barred. Why impose restrictions? India is an agrarian country and 60% of the population is involved in agriculture and allied fields. What happened to Jai Jawan, Jai Kishan? India's GDP is 7.6% as per estimate in 2016. Farmers are suffering. Nobody cares for them. How would we get the food on the table if they don't do the work? Food in India is often served on a tray or plate that can hold several dishes. Curry is an European term to describe the spicy dishes found in India. In most parts of India, meats are eaten with rice. In others, flatbreads are preferred. Food is infused with the spices such as cumin, turmeric, black pepper, cardamom, cloves, and coriander, which have costly effects on human health. Most Hindus avoid eating beef, even though beef is much cheaper than other non-vegetarian food. But there are exceptions. Indian culture is based on a hierarchical system of elders, so elders and superiors are greeted first. Religion, caste, and social standing all affect greetings. Gifts are not usually given at the first meeting. Once the relationship has developed, gifts may be exchanged. Personal gifts are appreciated, especially if from your own country. Indians give and receive gifts with both hands, never just the left, as it is considered unclean since majority are right-handers and left hand is used for daily ablutions in the toilet. Generally, gifts are not opened in the company of the benefactor. Avoid giving black or white gifts. Black or white in the sense wrapped in black or white clothing. Black denotes anger, evil, and negativity, while white is reserved for funerals and mourning. What a contrast. Christians use white for marriages and black for funerals. Even for placement interviews, also one should never wear bright colors, especially black, since it is used for protest normally, it conveys arrogance. Most of the politicians use white for their daily attire. Choose blue, red, even red is a bright color. Okay, blue or green or even yellow for a gift or wrappings. Avoid gifts that are made from leather or pigskin. Many strict Muslims and Hindu women do not drink alcohol, but it has changed, especially in affluent families, so-called high net worth individuals. Okay, you may be invited to wash your hands before eating. Food is often eaten by the right hand. Guests are generally served in a hierarchical order. Guests of honor, men and the children. Women would eat later. They will act as the host. They will serve the food. Meals often end with a variety of sweets, betel nut served with a lime and wrapped in a betel leaf. The host will always serve the guests, accept whatever you offer, but don't feel obliged to finish everything on your plate. Wasting food is a crime, and so many people are malnourished and die every nanosecond for water food. That way, I prefer what is it? Buffet, where people do self-serving. They don't take unwanted items. Okay, there are also people waste. I have seen that happening. Okay, if food is placed in communal dishes for you to help yourself, always use a spoon. Breads can be used to scoop of food. Reciprocate an invitation to dine with one of a comparable value. In a restaurant, the host will generally pay the bill. Always accept an invitation to dine unless you have a plausible reason for not attending. Give the host and the children thank you gifts. Although this is not always expected. It is acceptable to arrive up to 30 minutes later than the stated time. That is normal in India. Flower garlands may be placed around your neck. This can be removed after a few minutes but should be retained in your hand for a time. Shoes are rarely worn inside an Indian home. Watch your host and other guests if unsure and make certain your socks are clean. One has to go with the customs, whether it is India or any other country. Ask permission from your host to smoke. If there is an ashtray, it signifies that smoking is allowed. Smoking in the presence of elders is considered rude. Apologize if your feet or shoes touch another person. India is a rapidly growing marketplace that is tipped to be one of the largest economies in the world in the near future. Ensure a business etiquette and knowledge of the culture is accurate to maximize your potential and avoid unnecessary awkwardness. Business in India can be viewed as a reflection of society, hierarchical structures pervade business and culture. The result being that strong individuals are leaders in business and their control is unquestioned by those lower on the chain of command. To be successful in dealing with Indian business people, or conducting business in the country itself, it is worth considering the structure and ensuring that you are dealing with the decision makers so as to avoid prolonging the conclusion. Relationships are the basis of all business dealings in India. We prepare to invest time and effort into building a solid foundation from which your commerce will grow. Culture refers to the patterns of thought and behavior of people. It includes values, beliefs, rules of conduct, and patterns of social, political, and economic organization. These are passed on from one generation to the next by formal as well as informal process. Culture consists of the ways in which we think and act as members of a society. Thus, all the achievements of group life are collectively called culture. In popular parlance, the material aspects of culture, such as scientific and technological achievements, are seen as distinct from culture, which is left with the non material, higher achievements of group life. Culture is a product of such an organization and expresses itself through language and art, philosophy, and religion. It also expresses itself through social habits, customs, economic organizations, and political institutions. Culture has two types, material and non-material. The first includes technologies, instruments, material goods, consumer goods, household design, and architecture, modes of production, trade, commerce, welfare, and other social activities. The latter includes norms, values, beliefs, myths, legends, literature, ritual, art forms, and other intellectual literary activities. The material and non-material aspects of any culture are usually interdependent on each other. Sometimes, however, material culture may change quickly, but the non-material may take longer time to change. According to ideologists, Indian culture stands not only for a traditional social code but also for a spiritual foundation of life. Indian culture is an invaluable portion of our society. Indian culture is the oldest of all the cultures of the world, as I mentioned before. In spite of facing many ups and downs, Indian culture is shining uh, with all its glory and splendor, not now anymore. Culture is the soul of a nation. On the basis of culture, we can experience the prosperity of its past and present. Whatever I'm saying existed in olden times, about 60, 70 years back. Culture is a collection of values of human life. After that, world has become more self-centered, materialistic. Okay, culture is a collection of values of human life, population explosion, which establishes it specifically and ideally separate from other groups. Indians are very good for the population explosion. The English word culture is derived from the Latin term cult or cultus, meaning tilling or cultivating or refining and worship. In some, it means cultivating and refining a thing to such an extent that its end product evokes admiration and respect. Culture is a way of life. The food you eat, the clothes you wear, the language you speak, and the God you worship, all are aspects of culture. In very simple terms, you can say that culture is an embodiment of the way in which we think and do things. It is also the things that we have inherited as members of society. All the achievements of human beings as members of social groups can be called culture. Art, music, culture, literature, architecture, sculpture, philosophy, religion, and science can be seen as aspects of culture. However, culture also includes the customs, traditions, festivals, ways of living, and one's outlook on various issues of life. The culture we inherit from our predecessors is called our cultural heritage. This heritage exists at various levels. Humanity as a whole has inherited a culture which may be called human heritage. A nation also inherits a culture which may be termed as national cultural heritage. Cultural heritage includes all those aspects or values of culture transmitted to human beings by their ancestors from generation to generation. They are cherished, protected, and maintained by them an unbroken continuity, and they feel proud of it. General characteristics of culture: culture is learned and acquired, culture is shared by a group of people, culture is cumulative, culture changes, culture is dynamic, culture gives us a range of permissible behavior patterns, culture is diverse. Culture is closely linked with life. It is not an add-on, an ornament that we as human beings can use. It is not merely a touch of color. It is what makes us humans. Without culture, there could be no humans. Culture is made up of traditions. So now you should say there are no humans, only bees rule the world, wild animals. Even wild animals behave much better than the human beings. Culture is made up of traditions, beliefs, and way of life, and from the most spiritual to the most material. It gives us meaning, a way of leading our lives. Human beings are creators of culture, and at the same time, culture is what makes us human. A fundamental element of culture is the issue of religious belief and its symbolic expression. We must value religious identity and be aware of current efforts to make progress in terms of interfaith dialogue, which is actually an intercultural dialogue. As the world is becoming more and more global and we coexist on a more global level, we can't just think there is only one right way of living or that anyone is valid. The need for coexistence makes the coexistence of cultures and beliefs necessary. In order to not make such mistakes, the best thing we can do is to get to know other cultures while also getting to know our own. How can we dialogue with other cultures if we don't really know what our own culture is? The three eternal and universal values of truth, beauty, true, universal values of truth, beauty, and goodness are closely linked to culture. It is culture that brings us closer to truth through philosophy and religion. It brings beauty in our lives through the arts and makes us aesthetic beings. And it is culture that makes us ethical beings by bringing us closer to other human beings and teaching us the values of love, tolerance, and peace. Traditional Indian culture, in its overall thrust towards the spiritual, promotes moral values and the attitudes of generosity, simplicity, and frugality. The framework of Indian culture places human beings within a conception of the universe as a divine creation. It is not anthropocentric, human centric only, and considers all elements of creation, both living and non living, as manifestations of the divine. Therefore, it respects God's design and promotes the ideal of coexistence. This vision thus synthesizes human being, nature, and God into one integral whole. This is reflected in the idea of Satyam, Sivam, Sundaram. An important characteristic of Indian culture is tolerance. Indian culture is like an ocean confluence in which many rivers come and meet. Spirituality is the soul of Indian culture. Here, the existence of soul is accepted. Therefore, the ultimate aim of man is not man or woman. It is not physical comfort but self realization. Religion has a central place in Indian culture. Vedas, Upanishads, Purana, Mahabharata, Gita, Agama, Tripitaka, Quran, and Bible affect the people of Indian culture. The concept of karma, duty, and reincarnation have special importance in Indian culture. It is believed that one gains virtue doing good action and takes birth in a higher order in his next birth and spends a comfortable life. Okay. If you are a human, that means that you are higher. Animals are considered lower. Okay, the one doing good, bad action takes birth in lower order in his next birth and suffers pain and leads a miserable life. Upanishads say that the principle of fruits of action is correct. A man or woman gets fruits as per the action he or she does. Read Garuda Purana for more elaborate information if interested. An important characteristic of Indian culture is unity in diversity, secular. There is so much diversity in Indian culture, like in geography, in caste, in creed, in language, in religion, in politics, etc. Fulfilling duties is a characteristic of Indian culture. In a person's life, four bases are considered dharma, religion, art, money, kama, lust, moksha, salvation. Religion is related to the fulfillment of moral duties. Money is related to the fulfillment of all other needs. Lust is associated with pleasures in life. Salvation is the last goal. All these inspire an individual to fulfill his duties and to live in a disciplined way of society. Language is a medium through which we express our thoughts, while literature is a mirror that reflects ideas and philosophies which govern our society. The Indian people, composed of diverse racial elements, now speak languages belonging to four distinct speech families: the Aryan, the Dravidian, the Sino-Tibetan or Mongoloid, and the Austric. As I mentioned before, India is the only country in the world where so many languages are spoken. That being true, why is this language fanaticism, especially imposing Hindi and Sanskrit on people that are not for it, especially Bengali, South Indians, and all, even Punjabis? Okay, Sanskrit can't be considered a language at all. Have you ever seen two people conversing in Sanskrit? Why then a Sanskrit news? One will relish things that they can comprehend, that is, understand in totality. Language is just a medium of communication. Graphics is a universal language. Sign language is also considered universal. As a matter of fact, extraterrestrial ET, also known as aliens, use telepathy, also known as mind-to-mind communication. Hindi is imposed in so many ways. It is not an exhaustive list. Compulsory language in schools, language communication in central government offices, weather forecast including Twitter, especially during an emergency situation like storms in Hindi, important messages from central government offices in Hindi to everybody, customer service default language, even if of private companies in Hindi. As a customer, you would have chosen some other language like English. They start off in English and then switch to Hindi. All competitive exams conducted by central government allow candidates to answer in Hindi besides English normally. Other languages are very rarely allowed. Even the question paper is in Hindi for the convenience. Rules that all name boards, especially at railway stations, airports, milestones on highways in Hindi besides other languages. Announcements at public places in Hindi besides other languages. India is called a democratic country, but in reality it is not so. I wonder how long these atrocities will continue. India was, as a country may be united, but Indians are not. How could the bureaucrats say that as a country India seeks unity in diversity? It is a fact that India is still a secular country. Affinity is okay, but not fanaticism of any kind. Extremism, including patriotism, is not, since it paves the way for enmity and allied violence like Hindu-Muslim clashes post-independence. Mahatma Gandhi, assisted by other good leaders we had at the time, managed to put out the fire, and India was split as India, East Pakistan, and West Pakistan. Are there any such good charismatic leaders now? Ask yourselves. So-called leaders in existence today may not certainly like and approve these harsh facts. One can never claim that I'm a good leader. It has to happen on its own. Nothing works by force, whether it is language or anything else. We are living in so-called space age. Okay, there are a lot of other things, but debates, discussion, and open-ended topics like this can go on forever. Anyhow, let me pull the plug here. We'll meet again real soon with another interesting topic. Some of the statements used express are solely mine based on limited knowledge gained over 6 decades of versatile experience. Always watch these videos with closed captions, subtitles for absolute 100% comprehension as per my sincere recommendation. Zillion times so far. I know I rushed through to complete the presentation within 20 minutes max, which is a norm that I have set myself to read in the viewer's attention. I am quite aware of the fact that I exceed this time limit. Sometimes I take double or even triple this time depending on the topic, since I make honest attempts to cover the selected topic more elaborately, including so many intricate fine details, referring a wide variety of sources, in particular Wikipedia quite extensively, besides other articles and books published recently. Besides, of course, I sprinkle my own salt and pepper and season it with my own personal experiences so far in my life and also intuition. Stay at home as much as possible to maintain social distancing attributed to pandemic novel COVID-19 and prolong your lifespan. Lead a healthy life. God alone, God, also known as the Supreme Giver, is the one and only one who can put a stop to natural and unnatural, maybe bio and cyber events like pandemics and epidemics, which ultimately paves the way for apocalypse and extinction of all sentient species on earth for no fault of theirs. Rest in peace and harmony. Today I have taken around 28 minutes. Not bad.